going to be met soonest? Some have said the kidnappers demanded the release of some of their comrades in exchange for the abductees. We can only hope that when the time is right, people will know what needs to be known.
Yeah, it boils down to the same thing we are saying. Some people, there's so much of cover up on a very serious national dilemma. Somebody is negotiating, nobody knows the content of these negotiations, whether these terrorists are busy there blackmailing both government and relations to the extent that large sums of money often exchange hands, and how these people can get this money in the forest and move the money out of the forest is not being tracked, is very suspicious of a certain level of complicity at the high places. It's no longer acceptable, given all of the type of excuses that the government tends to give for not going all out to fish out these people and deal with them decisively. This will continue if nothing is done to serve as a deterrent for future occurrences. Yes, we value life, but they have used it to blackmail us and destroy many more lives than we are able to save. So I don't know. We have a problem, a big problem in Nigeria. Look at the security architecture, look at the National Security Council. This is a council you can just go in and speak only one language and provide the same type of religion. In a huge country like Nigeria, with so many people there, so many ethnic groups, so many regions, only one section run your life. They run the security outfit, they run the police, intelligence. So whatever they like, they do with it. And that is why everybody is clamoring that this country needs to be restructured. Nobody wants this country to disintegrate. But the way it's going, we can't see an end to this. We are using resources, the scarce resources we have, individual, families, even government, to fund indirectly this terrorism. Because when you meet their demands, all in the attempt to save lives, which of course lives should be saved, then you are giving them more money to get more equipped and come back and take more people.
You know, the people are quite frustrated now. Very often the kidnappers reach you and what you're thinking of is not even how to get the law enforcement to assist you to get your people back. You're just thinking about where to get whatever demands they want to meet them. But we have another interesting side story. This one concerns President Muhammadu Buhari's Democracy Day speech. Yesterday was Democracy Day, and President Muhammadu Buhari made a live broadcast at 7 a.m. marking the celebration. Again, can you quickly give us some facts about the speech yesterday?
Okay, so as has become tradition, President Muhammadu Buhari had a broadcast yesterday. So some quick side facts from that broadcast. From 1999, Nigeria has consistently celebrated Democracy Day, which marks the end of military rule and the return of power and control into the hands of those really elected by the Nigerian people. Originally, Democracy Day was celebrated on the 29th of May every year. In 2018, however, it was moved to the 12th of June. This change was intended to remind all Nigerians of the June 12, 1993 presidential election, after which the presumed winner, Chief MKO Abiola, along with Nigerians, were denied their rights and their choice. Customarily, the president makes a live broadcast on every Democracy Day. Yesterday was no exception. President Buhari in his speech yesterday touched on a number of important issues. But the part of the speech that interests us on this program today is the one that borders on national security. It reads, I know many of us are concerned with the rise in insecurity due to terrorist activities in parts of the country. As a government, we are working hard to contain and address these challenges and ensure that the 2023 general elections are safe and secure for all Nigerians. To achieve this, however, we must all contribute. It is not the job of government alone. I ask all citizens to support and cooperate with our security agencies by reporting any suspicious characters and activities to law enforcement agencies. We can only have a safe country if we are able to prevent crime, not after the crime has been committed. On this special day, I want us all to put all victims of terrorist activities in our thoughts and prayers. I am living daily with the grief and worry for all those victims and prisoners of terrorism and kidnapping. I and the security agencies are doing all we can to free those unfortunate countrymen and countrywomen safely. For those who have lost their lives, we will continue to seek justice for their families against the perpetrators. For those currently in captivity, we will not stop until they are freed and their kidnappers are brought to justice. If we all unite, we will be victorious against these agents of terror and destruction. We have reformed some of our security structures. Some of the defense assets we procured 3 years ago have arrived and have been deployed. Our cybersecurity and surveillance systems are being upgraded to further enhance our ability to track and trace criminal elements. We are also recruiting and training new personnel across all our security and intelligence agencies to strengthen the country's overall security. I will conclude this Democracy Day speech, my last as President, by assuring you of my commitment to protect Nigeria and Nigerians from all enemies from within and outside.
Can you read exactly, copiously from the speech of President Muhammadu Buhari? Well-written speech. I cannot fail to notice how at the beginning of the section that he quoted verbatim, the president called on all Nigerians to cooperate with security agents so that there can be a multiplier of force effect. And then how at the end he also informs the nation that more security agents are being trained to add to those that we have. Truly, we do not have enough trained security personnel to be able to police Nigeria properly. So all citizens have to work. That was, for me, a very strong message coming from the president that I think we need to amplify.
Well, let me say immediately that speech, because I watched it,
Yes.
was one of President Buhari's best speeches since he became president. He touched on areas that concern Nigerians, and they gave assurances, especially with regard to the transparency and credibility of the forthcoming elections, and said twice in that speech that this will be his last, at least to remove all doubts as to whether anything could be contrived to extend his stay by 1 day. So there were very strong assurances given. The appeal he made, the speech was truly presidential. But coming to look at it in greater details, it's not enough to ask Nigerians to cooperate and ensure that the security agencies do their job efficiently or achieve results. The structure, the security architecture we have in this country is not suitable for Nigeria. Nigeria is too vast in terms of land space, in terms of population, to be run by a central command structure. People have said this. Unfortunately, government has lacked the will to restructure the security architecture. You have a situation here where people from in the southeast where I come from, it's almost like an occupation army. In some places I travel, in my own region, my own state, one of my aides, who always traveled with me, speaks Hausa very well. When we run into trouble, he will speak Hausa for us to have an easy passage in my own state. So if we don't have any person who can communicate with them in their own language, that's how we may have some problems that can be imagined. So I have always been an advocate for a long time, long before President Buhari came into office, of state police and community policing.
Yes, I have followed you for
Yes.
quite a while, and I know that's a thing that you like to happen. And in the next segment on this show,
Okay.
we are going to actually ask you to give us your own idea.
Yeah, so in summary
in
to
full.
this particular
Yes.
one, we cannot simply, some government must create an enabling environment for that cooperation to come from the citizens. Citizens have to have a sense of being stakeholders in security matters, even around their little space. And when you multiply, the aggregate of it is that every space in Nigeria will be well secured. If you don't secure with whatever is available to you, you can also give information, which is called intelligence. And you must trust whom you are giving the information for your own safety. So this is the thing. But maybe when we get there,
Yes,
we'll
I agree with you. We need a proper environment where citizens feel confident and trusting enough to volunteer information, even physically assist. If the environment is lacking, appeals like this will not be heeded much. We will take a short break, and when we come back, we'll begin our side talk on politics and national security. Please stay with us. And now we shall begin our side talk on politics and national security in earnest. Again, our guest is Chief Dr. Chiedu Ude, and our listeners can actually follow Conversations in the Studio live on YouTube. Just go to your YouTube, on the search bar, type Radio Maria Abuja. Type Radio Maria Abuja, and it will take you to our YouTube page. Click on it, and you will see that we are live. So if you want to see the person who is talking here, you can watch live on YouTube. So back to the studio, Chiedu, we are going to discuss politics and national security.
Yes, we already had a teaser earlier in the conversation. Chief, check us. Let's begin with the treatment of our national security in the country. Earlier on, you touched on it. The security and welfare of citizens, you said, is the first responsibility of government according to the 1999 Constitution as amended. As amended. So, quite key to directive principles of state policy.
That's
right. Right. What does it mean, and then what does it entail, given the situation we'll find ourselves in?
What it means is that where you have a government, certain things should be taken for granted. Those things that should be taken for granted for having a government is that you'll be safe. You'll be safe to do your legitimate business. You'll be safe to practice your faith unhindered. You'll be safe to move around your country unrestricted. And on the other hand, government should take care of your welfare. Provide those basic amenities and necessities of life, especially since government is the one managing the resources of states, whether it's from whether it is human resources or material resources, from oil to agricultural produce, everything. The government has, especially the type of constitution we have in Nigeria, a large chunk of all of these things reside with the federal government. And so expectations are high that when the federal government is managing our resources up to that extent, it should be able to provide us with security, with amenities, with utilities, as well as basic freedom to act within the confines of the law. When those things are not there, then that is, first of all, a yardstick to measure how effective the government is or not effective. And here we are in Nigeria, we are having this problem. There is no security, there is no freedom of movement, there is not even freedom of worship. And some people look at it and say Nigeria has failed. But Nigeria is failing. That's the way I like to put it. It has not totally failed, because if it has, then what will be in a state of the jungle where is kill or be killed. The life has already become short and brutish for many people. You make if you are going to church, for instance, you pray. Part of your prayer point will be to go to church safely and come back safely. It wasn't like that. When you are going to church, you know you are going to church to go and worship God, and you know you will come back. It's only in rare situations that something may intervene, like accident or something. But the fact that you'll be in church, you will not be concentrating to worship, is traumatic for real Christians. And I'm sure the same will apply to real Muslims. And the government is not doing this. It's not providing the basic thing the Constitution has given it as a responsibility to provide. When you talk of utilities, look at electricity. I mean, who would have imagined that a country as vast as Nigeria will be talking about 5,000 megawatts or something? Today, we got news that we had system breakdown for a second time in a short time.
17th in 3 months.
Yeah, 17th in 3 months. So, good country can develop like that? No country can develop like that. I say all the time that this country is structured to fail, and it is structured to stagnate, and it is not structured for development. And when people talk about restructuring, this is exactly what they are talking about. They are not talking about separation. They are talking about giving every federating unit, in this case the states are the federating units, because what we even call zones, geopolitical zones, don't exist in the Constitution. Somebody cleverly removed it even when it had been approved at the Constitutional Conference. And the recommendation passed on to the government of General Abacha, and by the time he died suddenly, the government of General Abdulsalami set up another committee to review the recommendations of the Constitutional Conference, and they removed the six geopolitical zone recommended, and today we only use it when it's convenient, but it is not of a constitutional matter. So right now we have 36 states, 37 states, because Abuja has the status of a state. Now, allow these states the latitude to develop at their own pace. There is no state in this country that is not endowed with sufficient resources to even stand on its own as a country.
True.
So many African countries are smaller than the least of the states in Nigeria. Yet they are operating with a full complement of a sovereign nation, army, police, continental shelf, airspace, all protected, and they are doing pretty better than us. But the structure we have is not allowing us to take advantage of the size. Our size should be an advantage. Our diversity should be a strength. But instead, that is the major problem we have. And people are beginning, when you try to do something different, government will intervene and tell you that that is within the exclusive list, you can't do it, especially in the area of security. That is why the Amotekun cannot even live to its full potential, because it has to comply with a certain government directives. The Bugagu in the Southeast couldn't even take off at all because of the same government intervention. And all this insecurity is happening here and there. If there was security in the country and the people have been given the necessary enablement to take care of their own environment, I can tell you there will be upsurge in food production, there will be upsurge in commercial activities, artisans will do their job, and the economy will expand and grow. The internally generated revenue will be sufficient in this country to take care of our external obligations, debt obligations. But these things are not happening. Governors are not creative. The system has allowed them to just sit down and wait for the end of the month to go and collect their allocations. But give the states as federating units the latitude to develop at their own pace. You see creativity. You see efforts being made for healthy competition. And every state will sit up and do well. And there will be comparisons. If you know the state you can go to and have ease of doing business, and there is better security there, people will migrate towards that side. And the states that have become lackadaisical in their approach, their leaders are not doing well, their situation will get worse until they begin to elect those who will rise to the situation and do very well for themselves. So we cannot move an inch. I've heard, we are talking about coming election. I've had a number of aspirants, candidates, almost say the same thing. They say the same thing, how they are going to create jobs, and you can't create jobs. What you can do is create an enabling environment for people to create jobs. That is how it is done. And when you come and tell us some of the economic models that have worked in America, that have worked in Europe, in Indonesia, in Malaysia, in China, go and ask what is the environment where those models are operating and functioning. Are they like Nigeria? No model here, no matter how intelligent the person propounding it is, will work under this present structure. So this is one thing we must do. And many have said, if there is no restructuring of Nigeria in terms of this, including the security restructuring, devolution of power, and so on and so forth, that we should forget about 2023 election. Many have said that, many eminent leaders have said that, but I don't subscribe to that. We must have that election and continue to improve on it. But all I can tell Nigerians is that nobody who is of voting age should sit back and not exercise his franchise and turn around to blame anybody after 2023.
Okay, thanks, Chief Chekwas. Though if you are voting age, get your BBC.
That's
and
right.
then something is clear. The constitution or the structure is actually standing in the way of our development.
That's right.
And that resonates with virtually most political leaders, that something needs to be done about the constitution so that it no longer stands in the way of development. Now, Chief Chekwas, as we approach the next election, there has been the clamor that the people of Southeast Nigeria, the Igbos in particular, should be given a shot at the presidency. Some went as far as suggest that it should be micro-zoned to the Southeast. It's a legitimate request for that matter. Those who say having a president of Igbo extraction will amount to having Biafra, there are those who also say that. Others say it is a sure way of ending the agitation from Biafra land, that's the Southeast, and then also it may help in bringing to end the insecurity, the violence, most times attributed to IPOB or the ESN. What do you think, first, the agitation that the presidency should have been microzoned to the Southeast, and then its relation to the insecurity, terrorism, and what all that has been causing mayhem and agitation in the Southeast?
Yeah, the people of the Southeast are not asking for what has not been done before. There's nothing new in what they are asking for, because we are only asking for what is equitable and justiciable. In 1999, at the onset of the second phase of our democratic existence, the government of Abdul Salami Abubakar, military government, made up their mind that it would be, because there was no parliament that took that decision. It was the military government that made up their mind that the president of Nigeria, come 1999 election, will come from the Southwest. I and the was going to not only win his ward, but win the entire zone. So the APP didn't make much impact in the Southeast. The entire 5 states in the Southeast, complete with all its senators and House of Rep, were returned on the platform of PDP to more than fulfill that requirement for Dr. Kwame to go up. And don't forget that the military coup that brought down the government of President Shehu Shagari was said to have been mounted in order to stop Dr. Kwame, the vice president, from succeeding President Shagari. It was said by no less a person than Dr. Marudiko, who was a powerful minister in that government. He made that public statement. So the northern political class assured that they will use that election to reward him for the loyalty he gave, and everybody believed them. And why did I call it political 419? As soon as that result came, President Obasanjo lost his word, lost his polling unit. So that policy of party, he did not meet it to even be eligible for their convention. Then they changed the policy. The policy was changed, and Dr. Kwame was shortchanged at the JOS convention. At the convention of the APP, where we were, Dr. Ogbonneone emerged. And so there was celebration in the Southeast that if Dr. Kwame had lost, Dr. Ogbonneone was good enough to proceed. Everybody was prepared to throw their vote for the APP at the presidential and National Assembly level. Less than 24 hours, because I was involved. Dr. Agule was compelled to step down for Chief Olufalaye in a spurious, unprecedented alliance between two parties. APP already had 9 states in the north elected. AD had 6 states, the whole of the 6 states in the south, southwest. Now, the one with a smaller number of states was meant to be the senior partner in that alliance in order to bring somebody from the west. What did that mean? It meant that head or tail, a Yoruba person would be president, and that was what eventually happened. Now, this is where we are coming from. And then we said, now that President Buhari will be completing 8 years by the grace of God. Yes, it will just be appropriate in the for the sake of equity, justice, and fair play, and treat me as you have treated my brother, that this is microzone to the southeast. And what did we get? Nothing. It was this type of situation that compelled me to start looking for a political party. After the 1999 debacle, that's what I call it. In 2001, I founded Agule. I said, we must have a presidential candidate participate. Because the worst thing is non-participation. It's even worse than any other thing. And that was how we threw up the Monologue to run. But coming to insecurity, which is part of the major subject of today's side-by-side, all the top members of IPOB, the diaspora IPOB, because that's where IPOB took off from. Nnamdi Kanu, I appointed him chairman of Agule in the United Kingdom. Uche Ezekwelu, Dr. Egemba, all of the diaspora IPOB were members of Agule. And they believed in the political process. In fact, Nnamdi Kanu had wished to run for a Federal House of Reps in 2007. And the crisis that befell Agule, I know where it came from. It came from the presidency. Because there was accused of committing political sin by propping up the Monologue, they feared that he had this morbid fear that if he had gained any space, he could, this same Biafra thing they are talking about now, that giving our president will bring about Biafra. That was the very fear that if the Monologue had space in the southeast, that he will resume the Biafran struggle. To the extent that the Monologue once lamented publicly that he was one Nigerian that has never been allowed to be a Nigerian. And so when I left Agule temporarily, because I'm back in it now, in 2012, Nnamdi Kanu and all the people I mentioned here, and many others, said they were tired with the political process in Nigeria. In that same 2012, I moved on to found UPP. They moved on to Radio Biafra. That's the beginning of the crisis we're having in the Southeast. It's all about subjugation, marginalization, not giving us a sense of belonging. That's what it's all about. If they had agreed to zone this presidency to the Southeast, I can tell you that all the security problems in the area will be resolved in one fell swoop.
But Chief, there are those who would argue that it is possible that in 2023, the Southeast may not have, or Nigeria may not have an Igbo president. And this insecurity, which has been purportedly driven by the agitations, have caused a lot of damage. Many police stations have been destroyed. Many state infrastructure destroyed. Many lives have been lost. There is fear. The economic activities have been crippled, especially given the sit-at-home order. So if by 2023 we do not have a president of Igbo extraction, does this mean those who make this argument are saying the insecurity will continue?
No.
Let's understand that the people who are bearing the brunt of this
are still the Southeasterners.
They are the ones bearing the brunt. But I can also tell you that when you look at per capita income in Nigeria, the average Igbo man is high ahead of every other ethnic nationality in this country. Per capita income per ethnicity, irrespective of these problems. The only thing we are saying, allow the people unleash more of what they have to offer Nigerians. Now, coming to 2023, if we do not produce the president, we are not going to go to war. At least we'll make a statement. Look at the surge now in going to register to vote. It was not like that in previous election because the people had almost given up as not belonging to Nigeria. Some of us have done a human job without necessarily coming public. So even those who said they want a referendum to decide whether they will stay or not, I will say to them, you don't need AK-47 to have a referendum. The only thing you need is your ballot paper, because if there is a referendum, the requirement is that you must be eligible to vote and it is your PVC that will enable you to participate. So that seems to have resonated. And right now, there is this surge. After the voter registration exercise, INEC will be good enough to publish the new numbers and the demographics of those numbers. And you will see how determined the people are now to exercise their franchise. So what I kept insisting, because I had seen more than a year ago that PDP and APC were not going to give an Igbo man that opportunity. I kept clamoring, praying that Achiaga will be resuscitated to put an Igbo man on the ballot. And now, so that he will participate. The minimum he can get is going into a post-election alliance if the party is bringing something to the table. And by the grace of God, the Supreme Court of Nigeria and another federal high court at the lower level affirmed the chairmanship of Chief Edozie as the national chairman of Achiaga. And the first thing he did was to lead his team to my residence at Enugu. First, apologize to me for what happened that cost my living, and to request me to return to the party. I granted both, and returned to the party, stood the election at the primary, and as I speak today, I am the presidential candidate. I am that person who will be on the ballot. And I know that I am trusted enough to bring out our people and other ethnic nationalities. I've told you about the Middle Belt agenda. I've told you about the South-South agenda. And the agenda is not different from the Igbo agenda. Equity, justice, and fairness. So we expect that it's either we win this election or we are a critical factor. Let me tell Nigerians, no party again will have that overwhelming control of the National Assembly because of the determination of INEC, at least to let votes count. In all democracies, especially those that run multi-party systems, it's been a coalition of parties that form government. It was so in Nigeria in the First Republic, in the Second Republic, it is so in Germany, it is so in Spain, in Israel, even in UK, where the Conservative Party had to go into alliance with the Liberal Party to form governments, and so on and so forth. So we are ready for engagement. We are ready for alliances. We are not going to go to war if we don't win, but we have broken some jinx of keeping us out of participation to participate in every election cycle of 4 years.
Okay, Dr. Kori, Nigeria is a very vast country, and you've already spoken about the fact that Nigeria's diversity is quickly becoming a kind of distraction in the country. And we know that what is happening in the country today is that different parts of the country are facing different security challenges. In the north, you see a lot of banditry, terrorism. In the southeast, we hear of the IPOB and unknown gunmen. So why do you think that the Nigerian government has found it extremely difficult to deal with all these threats?
Well, I think it's because government has not been very proactive and sincere in fighting these things. I've said it here. You cannot send people who don't even know the terrain, who can speak the language, who can do anything to go and fight terrorism or banditry or criminality in other crimes. Just like if you send Igbo policemen and soldiers to the north, the first thing they do is to avoid anything that will be accused of blasphemy. Because once you are accused, then what happened to Akaluka in Kano will happen to them. So you go there and play safe, and so how will you do your job if you are not playing safe? Then you come and send people down to the southeast who see southeast as a cash cow, where they make returns to their people to say that they went to that honey pot. Or see the place as a conquered territory, where they are like occupation army, provoking the people every day by their antics, by their behaviors, by their comments. How do you have a security in a country like that? So, we'll go back to the issue. We don't need soldiers to maintain internal security. We don't need them. We need police. We need to equip them. We need enough of them and give the states, like I said, under state police and community policing, the latitude to protect their areas. They can do it effectively. The unknown gunmen and the IPOB, ESN, MASOB, these are the ones that obviously were motivated or lured into their action by the injustice in the system. When we begin to take control of our own space, our own destiny, our own self-determination within the context of Nigeria, all of those things will disappear.
Very well. So you spoke to about restructuring Nigeria. I mean, it still goes back to the fact that the size of Nigeria is somehow a problem. So, what is your view of restructuring? What should it entail? And how important do you think it is for peace and stability in Nigeria?
Yeah. First of all, we already have 36 states. We have Abuja as the federal capital territory. No place where you already have created a state I would like to have that opportunity taken away from them. So allow the states to be, and make the states the federating units. Now reduce most of the items in the exclusive list of our constitution, and transfer them to the residual and concurrent list, where the state and local government will take control. At the national level, you should be principally concerned with currency, fiscal policies, immigration, customs,
Foreign policy.
Currency, and things like that.
The military.
Yeah, the military defense. These are the areas. And allow, then you come to the security aspect of it. Now, what this means, therefore, is that when you have revenue coming from the various federating units, Nigeria will even be richer. But in that restructuring, the states will be allowed more percentage share of the national revenue, because they will now be taking more responsibilities by those things that the federal government claim to be doing, which they are not doing, and for which they are collecting money. We have a system in the country today, many people may have lost sight of it, that land mass is a factor in revenue allocation. I'll give you an example. In 1960, before the advent of the war, by 1963, before 1966, Nigeria was operating the provincial system. There were 14 provinces in the north. The colonial people created these provinces to administer human beings, not deserts and uninhabited areas. So there were 14 provinces in the north, 12 provinces in the eastern region, 7 provinces in western region, and 2 provinces. And what did that mean? It meant 14 provinces in the north and 21 provinces in the south. By once the war broke, by 1966, even before the war broke out, General Yakubu Gowon created 12 states, abolished the provinces, and brought the north and the south at par. 6-6. Subsequent military governments began to create more states to give advantage.
Disparagingly.
Yes. At the end of the creation of states, we now have 20 states in the north. That is if you include LCT, and 17. You see how the balance is being reversed by stroke of the pen?
Same for the local governments.
Then, by 1976, the Dasuki Committee created the local government, 774. Northwest alone has 188 local governments, and the Southeast has 95. Can you imagine that? They didn't go, they went beyond that to do boundary adjustments by Irekefe Committee, Justice Irekefe, and began to take oil-bearing belts, zones in Imo and Abia, to give them to rivers, to give some to Akwa Ibom, to deny those states their revenue, early revenue allocations. All these things were done deliberately. And that's why I continue to say, yes, Nigerian war ended in 1970. Yes, there was a pronouncement policy of reconstruction, rehabilitation, and reconciliation. But that was observed in the breach. All the eastern coastal seaports were abandoned. And everybody was now forced to go to Apapa to do business. Some dispersed to other parts of the country. Some went abroad in search of greener pasture. What is the result today? The result today is not too bad. It's just that the Southeast been left with abandoned projects, uncompleted projects, federal projects. But the result in terms of demographics is that there is no state in Nigeria you do not have the Igbo as second largest population to the indigenous population. And that is an advantage in democratic contest. In 2003, when Abga had his first participation in the general election in Nigeria, we won federal constituency in Suleja, Niger State, without a candidate. The people just went and voted where there was a symbol cock and there was no candidate. That's the result. We did the same in Ojo federal constituency in Lagos and the Amu ward of him. So this time we are having candidates everywhere, and the votes coming out now will be more than ever before. And so there will be negotiation and be mutual respect.
Yes, Chief Ezekwelu. Thank you for your contribution so far. Now, let's talk about state policing. And it appears you're not just interested in that, but you're really vast and then have a lot to contribute in that regard. As a presidential candidate, you must have known already that many Nigerians think that if state governments have more control over security in their domains, security will improve. Now, if you look at the way and manner security incidents have been handled, in some instances, there will be an attack. ISWAP or Boko Haram will claim responsibility. The government will say, no, they are not, it's not Boko Haram.
Yes.
Now, we have the Owo incident.
Yes.
Government have come out to say, it's SWAP.
The community members that will police themselves, they know who is a stranger and who is not. They know their own sons and daughters who live wayward life, and they monitor them more closely than any foreign occupation police or occupation army can ever do. The same is applicable also in every community in Nigeria, in the north, in the middle, everywhere. And some have said, yes, if you have state police, the state governors will abuse it. That's not proper. That's not, there's nothing to, it's been abused. In fact, it's been more abused now. We have seen a situation where a state governor was kidnapped, abducted in Nigeria by federal police. So it's been abused. But what we do, we don't just do all of that in isolation of certain other conditions for check and balances. For instance, you have to have an effective judiciary that is efficient and deliver justice promptly, expeditiously. Then you remove all of the immunity. Every criminal, anything bordering on criminality, you can no governor, president, okay, you leave that to president. No governor and the deputy governor should be immune from criminal charges.
Parliamentarians too.
Yeah, of course, they don't even enjoy immunity now. So their own is not, the governors and deputy governors enjoy immunity, and they are the ones who are feared that they will abuse the state police team. You will only leave them with immunity in civil matters because they still have to concentrate to do their job. But nobody is allowed to commit crime and get away, including corruption. And so that is, and when you have an efficient judiciary, citizens have rights to approach the court for protection should any state executive become overbearing. You know, this is the thing. I tell you, what in Ethiopia, after so many years of fighting in Ethiopia, when they reconciled, they had to do a new constitution. In their own case, they included a clause, referendum, that's a plebiscite, in some of this section 31 of the Ethiopian constitution. That any section that feels that is not able to continue in that federation should go to call for a plebiscite. And it's there. And between that time and now, no section in Ethiopia has opted to leave. The reason is that the person at the center knows that you can't write ruptures over people. They have options. So what you now do is make sure everybody is happy within the laws. So people shouldn't be afraid of referendum. In Quebec, in Canada, there have been referendum twice and it failed. Yeah. Because each time you call for referendum, the Canadian government will make more concessions to the Quebec people of Quebec. And they will prefer to be in a bigger country, and it will fail. In Scotland, there have been 2 referendums, and they didn't exist.
The EU Charter also has that.
Yes.
The EU Charter has that. I'm asking every country in the EU to allow any federating unit or nationality to opt out of. If
it doesn't feel comfortable. Now, I said to people, look at in America. California is richer than Nigeria. It's the 6th richest region in the whole world.
Yeah.
But it has not, because of that, opted to leave the United States because it feels that its strength is being in the United States. Why do countries come now? More countries are joining NATO. It's because when they enjoy their sovereignty, they still need the protection of a bigger body in case of the kind of invasion that Russia is mounting on Ukraine right now. So we still believe that the bigger, the better, but there must be space for people to breathe.
Express themselves.
Yes.
There must be space for people to breathe.
I can't breathe. I can't breathe.
Right now, people are choking.
We can't breathe.
Okay, Chief, I believe you would want to hear from some of our listeners. All right. So for our listeners who would like to call in and be part of the conversation, even ask questions, you can call us on 081 084 47518. Again, you can reach us on 081 084 47518. Okay, so we will take just a few calls, and then we would request that you send out a message to citizens for peace, for mutual. Okay, we have a call. Hello, good morning. Mike here from Wusetu. Please go ahead. All right, Mike. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. We have another caller. Hello, good morning. Hello, good morning. Okay, what's your name and where are you calling from? from Lube. Please go ahead. Okay, so can you hear me? Can you hear me? Can you hear me, sir? Okay. God bless Nigeria. Indeed. Thank you very much. Okay, we have another caller. Hello, good morning. Please kindly step away from your radio. Good morning. All right, please go ahead. Thank you very much. Okay, we have another caller. Chief is going to respond to all of these contributions and questions. Okay. All right, Chief,
Yeah.
you can go ahead.
Well, let me start. First of all, the first person who commended me and gave me so much recognition. Recommendations. I say thank you very much. I appreciate that. Then the one that said Igbo people that now it's a different ball game. I don't see the different ball game. Dr. Bonion voiced that out at Ego Square that he stepped down for Chief Olufalaye to become a candidate.
Who will lose?
He did. And in MK Abiola's election, Igbo people voted overwhelmingly for MK Abiola to win, and win resoundingly as he did. Dr. Alex Ekweme did not go to court or make trouble that the policy of PDP was changed just to shortchange him. We all went ahead with the outcome of that convention, and supported President Obasanjo every inch of the way. If it's in terms of playing national politics, the Southeast invested all their political capital in the PDP. What did they get out of it? In the case of APC, some of us, for instance, I collapsed UPP after its deregistration into the APC. All our structure nationwide, we collapsed into the APC. And by our contribution, APC rose from 5% in the Southeast to about 20, sometimes some places 18, some like 28%. In fact, the average is what, 25% from 5%. And the reason some of us gave for joining APC was that it was better for us, for President Buhari to do another 4 years, and that will be 8 years, and it now be our turn, instead of voting for Atiku, who will still do 8 years before. So it's a very big lie to say that Ohaneze, where I'm a member of the IMOB, the elders, the most, the highest organ of Ohaneze, and I have been a member of Ohaneze is 46 years old. I've been a member of Ohaneze for 46 years, from the very inception of Ohaneze till today. There was no way Ohaneze issued a statement to say they were going to support Atiku against APC. Never happened. So when an elder tells such lies over a big network like this, you deceive younger people. It's not true. Ohaneze is not cut out to make partisan statements, because it's an umbrella body of Igbo people who belong to different political parties. So that statement was not made. And what's the third one?
I mean, alliance, talking about
yes,
alliance.
Yes, about alliance. Don't forget, the person you're talking to is the person who first of all made Governor Obi, that is, I raised his hand, I gave him political exposure. His first entrance into politics was in Agule. I was the one that gave him that nomination. There was no election where he won a nomination. It was given to him. We nominated him. He came unopposed, and we campaigned for him, and he became governor. Having said that, I don't want to delve into anything that is personal, but he chose Labour. You see, there's no way you can separate a candidate from a political party, because on the day of election, you will not see the candidate's photo on the ballot. What you will see on the ballot is a symbol of the political party. If Labour resonates with Igbo, I don't think to make Labour resonate with Igbo, you need 10 years to do that. No magic can do it. There is no political party that does not have a core base. If you go to America, the Republican Party has its own red states. The Democratic Party has its own blue states.
But Chief, you know, if you go by your logic, it means you cannot hope to win in the north.
No, no. When you have your core states, then you make your penetrations. But you must have a base. Nowhere in the world you have a political party that doesn't have a base.
Okay. Unfortunately, we are short of time, so we are going to draw the curtain. We have come to the end of today's edition of Side by Side, and I must say a big thank you to our very special guest, Chief Dr. Chiedu Ude. He's a seasoned politician and statesman. So the person who called about students of political science, you now understand why. He is the founder of Progressive Grand Alliance, Achiaga, and he also founded the United Progressive Party, UPP. It is decommissioned. He is a former chieftain of the ruling APC, and currently he is the presidential flag bearer of Achiaga. Thank you very much, sir.
You're welcome. Thank you for the opportunity.
And our listeners, thank you for always joining the program. The next edition of Side by Side will come your way on Wednesday, the 15th of June at 10 a.m. Until then, keep listening to Radio Maria 91.3 FM. I am Reverend Father Robert Achiaga.
I am Chiedu Ude.
And I am Kene Ogies.
Peace be with you.